Oh, I was muted for all of that. Sheesh. Here's the thing, folks, because I want you to realize I'm not a moron. Every once in a while I start a show and I'm muted. But the reason is because there's 14 different... there's a button on the settings there. There's another button over here. There's a button at the top of the screen. If I just tap the back of the mic, which it's a nice microphone. These are the ones most podcasters use. But if you breathe in the direction of the little mutey thing, it mutes. So and then it doesn't go, hey, I'm muted. It just it slightly changes color from a light green hue to a light red hue. It really is a garbage system in all regards. So I just need you to know that. Sorry for the muting. Anyway, I was saying welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for clicking thumbs up, letting people know. Thanks, Dan, for getting the super chat started. But I'm getting into Trump administration has made a deal with Hamas to free, and he has already been freed, the last remaining American hostage, Israeli and American. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is kind of misleading, the way they discuss that. But yes, thanks, Dan, for supporting the show. Anyway, we got a lot to get into. Something's going on with Trump and Netanyahu, and a lot more. I'm also going to get into shocking technology updates or technological advancements coming out of China. It seems to be daily that China's like, oh, yeah, you know that world you guys live in? Yeah, we don't live in that same one. So we don't know why you're living in that stupid old one. It really does seem to be a daily advent. But anyway, let's start with Israel. Please click thumbs up. Please click share. Please click subscribe. All that stuff. Hamas has released the last remaining Israeli-American hostage named Adnan Alexander, held in Gaza since 2023. And some of you may, not you guys are too smart, but some people may wonder, wait, why are there like so many Israeli Americans? Why did Hamas just went into Israel, grabbed up, what was it, around 250 people, and it seems like there were dozens of Americans. Why are there so many Americans? Because of this ongoing effort to get Americans, American Jews, although, once again, let me remind you, Israel does not equal Judaism. But to get American Jews to move to Israel, join the IDF, because if you're in Israel, you have to serve. But again, that's a euphemism. That's a bullshit propaganda term. You have to be in the IDF. Don't say serve, all right? It's not ice cream. It's murdering people. There's a difference between ice cream and murdering people, okay? You're not serving in the IDF. You're murdering people. You're not murdering people with ice cream. You're serving ice cream. And so you should stop. I believe this in both sides. Stop. People who just serving ice cream should stop saying they're murdering people, because it's just inaccurate. Anyway, the reason is this large-scale effort to get American Jews to come to Israel, in which case they will all be in the IDF, assuming they're not, over 60 or something. And so there's a lot of Americans over there in their military. Here's another thing we're not told, and I'll get to the whole deal in a second, but there's another thing that is barely mentioned, or it's like one sentence and deep in the articles about this release of this guy. He was in the IDF. He was an IDF soldier at the time of kidnapping. So in most situations where you have an occupying force and someone in the military is kidnapped, that's not called a hostage. That's called a prisoner of war or a prisoner of battle or something. But instead, we're kind of led to believe through this soft propaganda that, like, most people don't even know this guy was in the IDF. They just say American prisoner freed, right? That's what people hear. That's what they go with. But anyway, the bigger news story of this is the fact that Trump, or the Trump administration, is doing deals with Hamas without including Israel, which I think says something. Hamas said the release was part of a ceasefire effort to open Gaza's border crossings and bring aid to Gaza. And I shouldn't ever avoid saying that 300,000 people have been murdered in Gaza by Israel. And that increases greatly every day because the starvation is getting out of control. Your average lucky Gazan has one meal a day. It is remarkably repulsive what Israel's doing right now. Anyway, Israel has blocked all aid, including food and medical supplies, for more than 10 weeks to pressure Gaza to release more hostages. Humanitarian groups say it is driving rampant hunger in the territory. The official hinted, so this is a Hamas official who did not give their name because they were not supposed to be speaking to the press. The official hinted Hamas anticipated Israel would release some Palestinian prisoners and ensure some aid into Gaza, and expected the U.S. to negotiate a broader deal with Israel that guarantees the end of the war. But none of that stuff was absolutely guaranteed. This is unlike any of the other deals that have gotten hostages freed, because in those deals, it was like, we'll do a ceasefire for this many days and and this much aid will come in. Now, Israel broke most of the deals. They'd say they were going to bring in 200 trucks a day, and then they bring in 60 or whatever, and then they just stop bringing them in altogether. But apparently Hamas has the expectation that the United States, because they did this for them, is going to actually work to end this genocide. Now, I'm not sure who told Hamas that the United States has ever lived up to any deal ever, or that Trump has, considering he's built his whole life on breaking deals and then taking people to court. But maybe they know something I don't know, that the United States is going to live up to this deal without guarantees. Anyway, the Hamas official said the ball is now in the American and Israeli court. We gave the Americans what they asked for. They need to get the other side to give things to. So basically, they're just hoping that Israel will then give some concessions, maybe allow food in to the place that they are starving to death. Alexander's release comes as Trump heads to visit Gulf countries on Monday in his first overseas trip during his second term. He is not expected to visit Israel, but is expected to discuss the future of Gaza with Arab leaders. The fact that he's not visiting Israel is a big deal. He's like skipping over Israel. The U.S.-Hamas deal is the latest in a series of major decisions Trump has made in the Middle East while sidestepping Israel's leadership. Those moves include U.S. nuclear talks with Iran, a truce with the Houthis in Yemen, which I covered extensively the other day, that did not guarantee the end of Houthi military strikes on Israel. So basically, the U.S. made a deal. Hey, stop striking our boats. Just, you can go after Israel all you want. That was the deal with Houthis, which Netanyahu not so happy about. And the U.S. talks for a Saudi civilian nuclear program that would not be conditioned on Saudi Arabia establishing diplomatic ties with Israel in return, which initially that was what was going to be involved. Anyway, seems like Trump is avoiding Israel to some degree. Now, for those who are big Trump ass lickers and they want to go, see, Trump's not bold in Israel and he's a hero. And let's just take a breath and remember he is still a war criminal. He's still furthered a genocide for many months now. He's still sent missiles to Israel to bomb children for many months now. For his first 100 days, he was still bombing children in Gaza. And he continues to, right? Because he hasn't announced we're going to stop shipping things to Israel. So, let's not pretend Trump is Mr. Hero. Now, I do hope that this is a sign of more things to come, of Trump avoiding Israel or working around Israel, where Israel will not stop this genocide, but we'll see. Let's not think anything will happen until it does, because with Trump, or really any U.S. president, you never should believe they're going to do a goddamn thing until you see the actual actions. Here's from Haaretz. The U.S. administration is pressuring Israel to sign a Gaza truce deal ahead of Trump's Mideast trip. And that's, again, from an Israeli outlet, is saying that he's pressuring Israel to sign a truce. I also don't believe Israel would do anything that they sign on to just because they say they're going to do something. Why would you ever think that's real? And furthermore, Netanyahu has For the first time, I guess. I don't follow every word Netanyahu says, and in fact, he's speaking in Hebrew, so I can't understand most of what he's saying. But the Cradle is reporting Netanyahu drops the mask. He said for the first time, "We are demolishing more and more houses. They have nowhere to return to. The only logical outcome would be the desire of Gazans to immigrate abroad. Our main problem is finding countries willing to receive them." So that's admitting to ethnic cleansing. We plan and want to ethnic cleanse the whole area. Now, I have no problem with the argument that Israel has destroyed Gaza to such a degree that life is nearly impossible, but that doesn't make it not ethnic cleansing, because people now want to leave because they set fire to the entire area. Anyway, for the first time, Netanyahu said in the committee, while referring to the humanitarian aid distribution plan in Gaza, that receiving the aid would be conditional on the Gazans who receive it not returning to the places from which they arrive at the aid distribution sites. The explanation: in the places from which they came, they're mixed with Hamas members. Now, of course, this is still dumb and isn't going to make a whole lot of difference, but in terms of their battle against Hamas. But it also, again, is further evidence of their admission of ethnic cleansing. It is basically, we've cut off all the food. You're going to starve to death. If you come get the food we're offering, you have to stay where you come to get the food, and we're not going to let you go back. And they're cramming, they're trying to cram Gazans into smaller and smaller areas. And then clearly their hope, I think, is to, and in fact, I think they've said this, is to push them all out into Egypt, into the Sinai Desert, or possibly push them out into the sea if they were to actually have boats there. Maybe the U.S. will build a pier. Maybe we can get that pier, and that's going to change everything. And even NPR and PBS, that are often doing U.S. empire propaganda, even they admit, and Israel propaganda, Israel plans to capture all of Gaza under their new plan, officials say. Israel approved plans Monday to capture the entire Gaza Strip and remain in the Palestinian territory for an unspecified amount of time. Two Israeli officials said a move that, if implemented, would vastly expand Israel's operation in Gaza and likely bring fierce international opposition. And again, as if I need to remind people, you have kids starving to death every day. Every day. Children. Generally, it's the youngest children, right, that are going to die quickest when food is shut off, and the oldest people. So you have people dying every day, children dying every day from the starvation that Israel has created, because they are absolutely morally vacant, just vacuums of suck. There's nothing there that even it's absolutely repulsive the way any of these people can behave like this or support this. The fact that you still have Americans being like, I stand by Israel. Oh, really? Then I guess you support genocide as well. Here's further evidence of how Israel is increasing the kind of there's been a bunch of discussion about how they're in it for themselves. They're going to protect themselves, rather than U.S. support. Israel issues evacuation warnings for Yemen ports after vowing to defend itself by itself. Oh, it's like FUBU. For us, by us. Okay, cool. They say that, but they get shipments of U.S. missiles every 36 hours. I don't know if that's increased. That's what the number was many months ago. So is that, if those shipments, if they're going to protect themselves, if those shipments were to stop, are they actually... do they have enough missiles to keep bombing all the children? Because, it seems like they're using a lot of them. They've dropped, 6 Hiroshima atomic bombs worth on Gaza on a 25-mile strip. But yes, the Israeli military issued an evacuation warning for 3 ports in Yemen, and they also said they would defend itself by itself following a ceasefire deal between the U.S. and the Houthis. The warning, posted on social media by the IDF, warned people to evacuate the ports. The anticipated airstrikes come 2 days after Israel intercepted a missile fired from Yemen. That missile was the first since President Trump announced a ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Iran-backed rebel group last week. They always have to say Iran-backed. Could you imagine if every time CNN mentioned any military around the world, they would say U.S.-backed if it was a U.S. weapons contractor, a U.S. funded, any connection to the U.S.? It would be like half of all militaries around the world are U.S.-backed. But you notice they don't say that, do they? Only Iran-backed. Everything's Iran-backed. As Gaza starts, this is from Dropside News. Like I said, Dropside has continued to do a great job on Israel and Gaza, while other outlets, even many independent outlets, have just decided they're like bored by it, or I don't know. And it's really pathetic, but Dropsite has not let up. As Gaza starves, Israel attacks UNRWA Food Distribution Center. You'll recall that UNRWA is the UN organization for that area, and we talked a lot about it like a year ago when they were defunding. The U.S. was also defunding UNRWA. UNRWA. I can't actually say it. UNRWA. But the U.S. was defunding them as well, and they were at that time. I don't know what they are now. Wow, thanks, Teresa. Thanks for gifting 10 memberships. Very cool. While they back in that day, before they were defunded or partially defunded, they were basically the size of a nation. I mean, a budget of billions of dollars, tens of thousands of employees working to bring relief to that area, to Palestinian refugees, to Gaza, to the West Bank, to others. They ran schools, they ran medical clinics, just massive. And Israel has attacked them again and again and again. They've tortured some of these UN employees. They've bombed these UN headquarters. The drop site says just after sunset on Friday, when an Israeli missile slammed into an UNRWA building in the middle of the Jabalia refugee camp in North Gaza, killing 4 people, including a child, according to eyewitnesses, and severely damaging a food distribution center, warehouse, and health center run by the UN Refugee Agency. The entire area was destroyed and turned to rubble. We're gathering, let's say, and then he talks about his family member, his uncle, who's been killed in the bombing. But this is not the first or second or third UN facility that Israel has bombed. And it's kind of amazing that there's still factions in the UN that will not just factions, a large percentage of the UN will not turn against Israel as they kill their employees, as they bomb UN food distribution centers. Disgusting. And yet the UN doesn't have the ovaries to stand up to it. Hello, everybody who's joining a little late. Thanks for being here. And please click thumbs up, click subscribe. Another important thing is when you click subscribe, you got to go down to the bell, and or else they won't even tell you about it. Actually, I'm going to keep going with the Israel coverage in just a second. But I want to bring you today's sponsor. Today's show is sponsored by Chapter, as is every day for right now. Chapter is a free service that helps people navigate the Medicare and Medicare Advantage systems. As you guys know, I want free healthcare for everyone, but as long as we're in this system right now, everyone who gets Medicare and gets Medicare Advantage should be able to navigate it effectively. And so this is for people 65 or older, or if your parents are 65 or older, because most younger people help their parents, or a lot of younger people help their parents figure out these systems. But now you have someone that can do it for you. Chapter. There are 24,000 different Medicare plans, and most people have no idea how to compare them. Chapter is the only Medicare advisor that has an AI system that can compare all 24,000 plus plans and try to figure out the best fit for each person. Here are some key points. Getting Chapter's help is free. 96% of people who use Chapter return the following year. Seniors have historically saved over $1,000 a year. Chapter has a near perfect review record online and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. And did I mention it's free? So check out Chapters and see if it's right for you or your parents. You can either go to askchapter.org/camp or call the number 757-349-8232, 757-349-8232, and you'll talk to a real live human being. Do you remember when those were around? It wasn't too long ago. I feel like I heard about some of those. Anyway, it's free, so why not use it? Why not tell your parents about it? Askchapter.org/camp. Okay, let's keep going. More Israel updates. Let's see. Somehow I got stuck on an image. Okay, so people in Norway are showing people in America how to fucking behave during a genocide. And I'm not going to speak for the whole Norwegian government, but this has to do with the largest trade union that represents a lot of the Norway population. The Norwegian TUC votes by overwhelming majority to boycott Israel. They're trying to make it more and more illegal to boycott Israel in the United States. So that's why other countries need to pick up the slack and say, okay, you go ahead. You make it illegal in the United States. Tell you what, we'll boycott them for you. How about that? How about we do that? On Saturday, the Norwegian Confederation of Trade Unions cast a historic and overwhelming vote for a comprehensive boycott of Israel, with a huge 88% of the delegates voting in favor of the motion. The boycott covers trade, investments, culture, sports, oh, nice, and academic ties. The resolution demands a complete ban on trade and investment with Israeli companies and entities, a boycott of cultural, sports, and academic institutions that are linked to Israel, immediate and complete divestment from by Norway's $1.8 trillion oil fund. Norway's big into oil, which is problematic in its own way, but from any company complicit in Israel's occupation. Let's see. Largest union umbrella organization, has more than 1 million members, and the population of the country is only 5.5 million. So this represents a lot of Norway's population. And I also love that they threw sports in there, because I don't know if any of you ever watch. I mean, this might have been similar. I'd imagine it's similar in other sports, maybe soccer or some others. I don't know how many of you watch tennis, but occasionally I'd watch tennis, and ever since 2022, they almost always at the big tournaments, they put the flag of the country next to the player, which I've always thought is garbage, because why do we need to be defined by what borders we were born within? Go yourself. If you're playing tennis, you're hitting a ball. Hit a ball for yourself. You don't have to hit a ball for your empire that's bombing children. Just hit the ball. Just hit the goddamn ball, okay? You don't need to hit it for Donald Trump or Joe Biden or George W. Bush. Just hit the stupid ball. It doesn't need to be a ball for killing children. It doesn't. Just do it for you. Anyway, in tennis, they always put the little flag next to the player's name. And the moment that Russia invaded Ukraine, they ignored anything that happened prior to that, the tens of thousands that were killed in Donbass, whatever. None of that mattered. What mattered was that one day in 2022, Russia goes in. They remove the flags of Russia and Belarus, because Belarus is a Russian ally, from the players, next to the players' names. And these are the only flags so they just have like a gray box there, as if they're just members of a void. They just came down from a void and started hitting the ball. And they don't do this for anything else. The U.S. has killed 6 million people in just the global war on terror. 4.5 to 6 million people. We still got our flags next to all our players. We're still good. We're still cool. I mean, it's insanity. Israel still got their flags next to them, even though they're committing a genocide. And you could just go down the list of other countries involved in things. Now, the U.S. is the most egregious, but none of the rest matter. It's only Russia and Belarus flags. And it's just like, how do you take the flag away from Russia, but you leave the flag next to Israel? And it's the same with the Olympics, too. It was the same with the Olympics. But it's just so like that kind of hypocrisy. I don't even understand how you can walk around in that kind of hypocrisy. You think it'd weigh you down. You think eventually you just kind of be slumped on the floor. I can't, in this much hypocrisy, can't do it. Anyway, so apparently Norway, if Israeli athletes have anything to do with Norway, then they're going to not associate with them. So yeah, Norway, at least the people in Norway, maybe not the government, are showing Americans how to behave during a genocide. But here's something else I wanted to get to. There is something going on in a rift in the ruling elite about whether they should continue to allow this genocide, at least at the level. I don't think it's not like they're going to turn against Israel. They just they want to like ease off. Just like, can we back it up a little bit? You've got the Trump administration avoiding Israel in these various decisions. Then within like a day or two, you have both the Independent, major British outlet, The Guardian, another major British outlet. The Guardian especially, though, has become increasingly just mainstream propaganda. And yet both of them within the last 2 days have not just posted an editorial or an opinion piece, but this is by the entire independent editorial board. And they put out their statement saying, end the deafening silence on Gaza. It is time to speak up. The total shutdown of aid has shown that the Israeli government's shameful aim is to starve and deprive the entire population of Gaza, combatant and civilian alike. Keir Starmer must find his voice, yeah, like he ever had one, and urge Donald Trump and all world leaders to call on Netanyahu to end the aid blockade. So you've got the Independent. Again, this is not just some person, right? Because sometimes they'll post a, opinion piece. Israel sucks. But this is actually the entire editorial board. And you have the same thing from The Guardian. Again, it's like within days of each other. Or maybe it was the same day. I didn't really look. May 10th and May 11th. Okay. The Guardian editorial view. So they actually titled it The Guardian View. The Guardian view on Israel and Gaza. Trump can stop this horror. The alternative is unthinkable. The U.S. president has the leverage to force through a ceasefire. If he does not, he will implicitly signal approval of what looks like a plan of total destruction. As if it already hasn't been a plan of total destruction. Oh, yeah, just recently, it seems like Israel might be doing some bad stuff. But anyway, I'm sure if I go through this entire article, I'd have a million complaints with their wording and the way they describe things. But that's kind of not the point. The point is you have the entire editorial board of these mainstream, quote unquote, legacy newspapers turning against Israel in the past couple days. And then you also have one of the biggest and disgusting, quote unquote, liberal propagandist for the New York Times, Thomas Friedman, who, has largely never met a war he didn't like. But then sometimes as the wars drag on, he'll turn against them to some degree. But total propagandist, total pro-Israel and everything. Even he just 2 days ago, May 9th, put out his opinion piece. This is an Israeli government. Wow, could I trip over that anymore? This Israeli government is not our ally. And, the complaint of this easily could be that this is a new tactic to try and pin it on the specific government rather than acknowledging that this is an entire mindset of a settler colonial state, of a apartheid theocracy. It is not just one government. If you remove Netanyahu, you'd probably have less destruction in Gaza, but you would not have not an oppressive theocracy. You would not have. They're not going to treat Gaza well if they replace Netanyahu. In fact, many of the people that seem closest to replacing Netanyahu were somehow more right-wing than him, which I can't even imagine. Anyway. So this is Thomas Friedman, longtime disgusting shill for New York Times. Even he is trying to tell Donald Trump that the Israeli government is not our ally. And so this, and when you see when you see things like this all align within a couple of days, the Independent, the Guardian, New York Times, it's possible I've missed a few. Maybe Washington Post put out something. There's coordination. Something's going on. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the big guy in the dark room picked up a phone and said, "Hello, Guardian editor-in-chief. You will now tell Israel to back off." It's not necessarily that. It can be that these outlets were looking for an opening where they thought they could have an impact. So it might be the guy in the dark room. It absolutely might be. I'd say 44% chance creepy guy in the dark room made the phone call. But something seems to be changing. Something seems to be changing. Okay. And of course there's, I don't often bring you the individual stories because it's too many of them, honestly, I only have an hour a day or an hour 3 times a week sometimes. So I don't bring you like, I think it was Jeremy Scahill was covering how they just murdered another Palestine journalist, a well-known journalist, hours after his daughter was born. They bombed him. But the fact is, and both facts are sad. One is that I don't have the time to cover each and every journalist who gets killed, each and every child who gets killed, each and every doctor who gets killed, assassinated by Israel. But also the fact that it's too overwhelming. It's in terms of like, how could I possibly bring you even the names of every doctor and nurse that's been murdered by Israel, or the names of every child? I did bring you the video of them dragging the list of people who've been murdered by Israel. They had them all printed out in like 10-point font, and it went for miles. I did bring you that video, but okay, let's get cheered up for a moment by watching a wonderful interruption. I guess it was done. I guess it was done by Code Pink because there's a Code Pink watermark on it. You can't really see the people interrupting, but this is the speaker at this event is I've forgotten her name already. Linda Thomas Greenfield. She was the UN representative, right, for the U.S. Under Biden. You remember every time you saw that single arm vetoing either Palestinian statehood or declaration of war crimes or whatever else they vetoed in the UN, any kind of restrictions on Israel, any kind of holding Israel to account. There's always that one U.S. person vetoing it. This was her every time. Anyway, she's speaking, I'm sure, to beloved liberals. I'm sure it's a group of liberals going, "Oh, she's so wonderful. She was our representative at the UN." And anyway, I'm going to play most of this video. Certainly, this is how every event should be when any of these goons speak.
There were no attacks in Gaza before October 7th.
I'm sorry.
There were no.
So I am going to play without interrupting every 2 seconds, but it's very hard to hear there. First of all, she says there were no attacks in Gaza before October 7th, which is hilarious. Of course, there was endless attacks. There was endless bombing. There was assassination. It was the Great March of Return. They killed 100 whatever people. We're always killing people in Gaza. But that aside, the protester says, do you know what the Nakba was? Nakba is when Israel first moved in, and they killed tens of thousands. They moved 700,000 out of their homes. They destroyed villages. So that's what the protester yelled. That was 1948.
What about the children of Gaza, Linda? If you care about people, tens of thousands of children in Gaza were massacred, Linda. You vetoed 3 ceasefire resolutions. 3 ceasefire resolutions were vetoed by you. As the Israeli regime was pouring 2,000 tons of bunker buster bombs on schools and hospitals.
Thank you so much.
Tens of thousands of children have been massacred in Gaza.
Yeah, we appreciate your sentiment.
The Israeli regime calls conquering children amalek and subhuman animals.
We're here to
And
hear
they
from you,
massacre
Ambassador.
children. You are spineless cowards, Linda. You are spineless. You are a puppet for Zionist imperialism.
So I don't know how much you can hear if you listen to the podcast, but great points he's making. I also love that he does not sit down. Everyone wants you to behave. They want you to be quiet. Some of them are booing. Boo, boo. You don't interrupt a nice lady who perpetrated a genocide because, yeah, she wasn't the one pulling the trigger. But if you're the one vetoing, if your hand is going up, vetoing the resolution at the UN for a ceasefire, it's now your genocide too. All right. It's not just Biden. It's your genocide too at that point. So yeah, they're like, oh, be quiet. Don't say anything. Don't talk. Anyway, good for them. And I don't think any of these goons, Trump administration, Biden administration, I don't care. I don't think they should be allowed to speak and just have their garbage heard on a regular basis. They should be interrupted. The truth should be thrown into their face constantly. As a kind of sad side note, Code Pink's Code Pink founder Medea Benjamin, friend of the show, she's been on the show several times. Her husband is in the hospital right now because he was hit by a car while on his bike, headed to a protest in D.C. And so send your wishes out to Medea and Tig. And I know him well too. He's always there. He's always part of all the Code Pink actions, and he does amazing work on that front. And I've known him for years, both of them for years. And he also was on the flotilla that was attacked. So I don't know when he got back to D.C., but it's what's the expression? Out of the frying pan into the fire. This is pretty similar. He gets back from a flotilla to Gaza where he's bombed by Israel, which we covered that on this show. And within days, he's hit by a car in D.C. He does seem like he's going to recover, although it does not seem like it's going to be fun. 13 broken ribs, shattered wrist, pelvis, hip. Rough. So anyway, we wish you well, Tig. Get well soon. Okay, I got one more update connected to Israel, and then we're going to move on to, well, you know what? I can do that one later. I want to do a couple other things, and we're going to get to China's crazy technological advancements that just are like lapping the United States in every way. But before I can do that, this is exciting. United Healthcare. This is the healthcare company that, what's his name? Brian Thompson, right? The man who was shot accusedly by Luigi Mangione, Brian Thompson, yeah. The CEO who was killed by someone, possibly Luigi Mangione. United Healthcare is the most egregious of I think all of our insurance companies. I mean, if it's not the most, it's close to the most egregious. And they've been overseeing ways to just reject more people using AI, that AI will just say, oh, it doesn't matter what your doctor says. The AI says you don't, you are not approved for these procedures, et cetera, et cetera. It's disgusting. And anyway, United Healthcare's stock has crashed after a surprise earnings miss. United Healthcare Group surprised investors with what its new CEO, said was an unusual and unacceptable quarterly earnings miss, and it lowered its outlook for the full year due to higher than expected medical costs, sparking a more than 20% sell-off in shares that reverberated across the sector. Now, that's what they're pointing to. They didn't say that maybe it's because Luigi Mangione drew attention to just how breathtakingly disgusting United Healthcare is, and some people kind of chose not to use them anymore. I don't think that if there was anything to that, I don't think they would want to highlight that. They'd kind of want to not remind everybody how disgusting they are. So believe it or not, even though they don't like admitting a miss on earnings, They probably want to admit that a lot more than, oh yeah, a lot of people are dumping us because they don't want to be connected to the most repulsive healthcare company that's ever existed. The company's first earnings miss since 2008 and accompanying bleak forecast sent investors to the exits as they were hoping the U.S. insurer would maintain its profit outlook on expectations that demand for medical services would be similar to 2024. They also, and this kind of fits into today's sponsor, the chapter of the Medicare Advisory Free Medicare Advisory Company. The U.S. health insurance industry has been grappling with increased costs due to a surge in demand for healthcare services under government-backed Medicare plans for older adults or individuals with disabilities. Yeah, but it should all be government-backed. Don't feel bad for them. It should all be government-backed. There should be a surge of government-backed coverage for your healthcare. Absolutely. And anyway, I forgot to mention when I mentioned today's sponsor earlier that the information about Chapter is also in the description to this video or to this podcast. So you can check it out there. But I wasn't covering this story for that reason. I was going to cover it anyway, and then I don't notice that down below. But anyway, United Healthcare crashing. And I am broken up. I am torn up about this. They're such good people. And why do they have to suffer when they're just trying to extract as much money out of people while also helping them die? By helping them die, I mean not giving them the procedures they need. Why? Why should they suffer? Why should investors in their companies suffer? Just because they're trying to get as much money from dying people or from people who are sick. It's just they're doing the Lord's work. If the Lord were a horrific, masochistic, just disgusting human being. Anyway, good news. There was some good news. Okay. So let me bring you some stories. Please click thumbs up, click share, all that good stuff. I do not frown upon super chats. And new Unredacted Tonight coming out Thursday. And also check out the Discord. Come hang out with all of us at Discord. Where's that? tinyurl.com/unredacted Discord. It's where you can hang out with us. But okay. China has all these crazy technological advancements. And here's one of them that I think is going to quickly become like, and I hope it's used more for good than for military, but you know how governments work. It'll also be used for military, no matter how sweet the government seems. But China has just launched the world's first high-speed, typhoon-proof, uncrewed submersible. So this is basically a submarine that is unmanned. It's a drone submarine that can go all of the places for a month without even without more fuel or anything. And I would imagine that we're quickly going to head towards a time where you'll have just fleets of thousands of these. Now, they'll probably get smaller and smaller. So I don't know if they'll always be the size of a small submarine. They may be, one day they may be the size of, your wallet. And it's just a billion submersible drones in the ocean at all times. But anyway, China has launched the world's first high-speed, uncrewed submersible, a vessel that can operate underwater for 30 days, withstand extreme weather, and launch research rockets, marking a major advance in the country's maritime technology. Now, anytime you mention something like this, you have to mention what is the most likely use for humanity, the way we in our troglodyte form as we are, in our barbaric, disgusting, war at all costs, annihilate your neighbor, steal all the stuff for yourself, like way that a lot of people in this world live. And you have to acknowledge the way it could be used if we were like advanced creatures who actually wanted to make the world better and take care of people and live for a higher reason and actually appreciate our shared humanity rather than being divided by these disgusting nation states and all that garbage, or our skin color or whatever else. Or the magic guy in the sky that we believe in, but it's got to be your magic guy in the sky. It can't be the other guy's magic guy in the sky, even though all of us agree that 99.9999% of all the magic guys in the sky are not real. Because we all found those who have one found one, usually. And so if you found one, you're saying all of the others that came before us in human history, the gods of the Egyptians, the gods of the Inca, the gods, doesn't matter. All of them, not real. The Greek gods, Viking gods, all of them, bullshit. But the one you got is the right one. And so we actually all agree on like 99.9% of the time. We're all atheist about 99.9% of gods. Just some of us usually have one. Sorry, that's a tangent. But the way it could be used if in our current troglodyte savage way is we send these around the world and we use them to blow things up, right? Or we use them as surveillance to make sure other people aren't coming to blow us up. If we were the actual smart advanced species kind of thing, then how do we use the fact that we can now have these submersibles, these semi-intelligent submersibles? You could have them around the world. You could have a fleet of thousands or millions. Millions sounds kind of wasteful. I feel like that's going to fill up the recycling bin. But how could you use them? Well, you could use them to surveil the world's oceans, find out pretty much everything, at least, maybe you couldn't map the deep of the deep, but in the top 1,000 feet of the ocean, you could find out how the whale populations are doing, the fish populations, the dolphins, and what the acidity of the water is, the temperature, all this stuff. And you could use that to behave differently. What? No way. So anyway, and of course, right now, China's saying it's a research vessel. I imagine that, as with most things, the United States does this too. At first, some things are research, and then you put guns on them. Everything the U.S., I'll just speak for the U.S. for the moment. Everything the U.S. has ever done is like, hey, I invented a wagon. And then someone in the government or the Pentagon, but before the Pentagon existed, is like, what if we put a gun on that wagon? Hey, I invented this little thing with wheels that you can like ride around on. What if we put a gun on that thing with wheels? I invented a robot. It can actually walk around. What if the robot had guns on there? That's basically. Dan wants to know, thank you for the donation, Dan, and the question. Dan wants to know, how often am I in the Discord? I try and check it once every couple of days and respond to some things. So, some days I'm in it a bunch, some days I'm not. I get busy, but that's what I aim for. Substack rank. Yeah, because for a while there, I was number 34 in Substack geopolitics or world politics or something. I was ranked number 34. It is not showing a ranking, so that they only rank up to top 100. So that must mean I am no longer the top 100. But that doesn't surprise me because that thing changes quickly. So, but I'm doing the best I can. Anyway, the blue whale measures 11 meters, 36 feet long, weighs 12 tons, can function both as a high-speed surface craft and an underwater vessel. Anyway, where is the U.S. on this? We're not advancing on really anything, are we? But here's another one. And this, honestly, if it gets functioning soon enough, could save humankind. If we actually, again, used it like advanced species rather than savages. So I've covered before how China's been working on fusion energy. Go back a decade or 2 decades, and several countries were working on fusion energy. U.S., Russia, and China, I believe, have a partnership working on fusion energy for a time. And I don't know if the U.S. knew this all along or wasn't really thinking about it, but the moment we cracked the code of fusion energy, and I mean, we'd have to do it in a big way. It couldn't be just like, hey, we're able to power a light bulb. It'd have to be a big way. Then the petrodollar becomes pretty useless. And so it completely destroys the U.S. petrodollar, which is the heart of the motivation for most things that the U.S. government does internationally. Not all things, but anyway, so I would imagine that even back when there was a partnership on fusion energy, I feel like the U.S. probably just wanted a partnership so they could spy on it and like throw literal wrench in the gears. Like, oh, whoops, did I calibrate that wrong? Oh my goodness, did that particle fly through your office, killing your parakeet? Oh, I didn't even know. You know, probably that type of thing. But anyway, so now I don't think there's any partnership, and China's going it alone on fusion energy. And they have recently announced that they were able to achieve 5 times the out. So it takes a huge amount of energy to create a fusion reactor. And so the question is, can you get out more energy than you've put in? Because obviously that's the aim. And so I think this is saying they've announced, they've announced aims to produce 5 times the energy. They've already produced more energy than they put in. But the burning plasma experimental superconducting tokamak, which is called the BEST nuclear fusion reactor, BEST. So when I say it's the best fusion reactor, I'm not just like giving a personal opinion. I just really like this one, as if I can understand any of this science. I just think this one's the best. Reactor being built in Hefei, China, is in the final phase of its assembly and on track to completion by 2027. When ready, it aims to produce 5 times the energy it uses. Nuclear fusion technology is a viable alternative as it replicates the process of energy generation of stars, but does not release any planet-warming gases. To scale up how much energy can be produced from a nuclear fusion reaction, countries are working to build a larger fusion energy plants where the technology and its commercial viability can be tested further. The BEST fusion reactor being built in China follows the popular tokamak design, which uses a donut-shaped vessel to work with plasma heated to a temperature much higher than the surface of the sun. I don't even understand what that means. How could anything be much hotter than the surface of the sun? It doesn't. I can't even process. What do you put on the walls to stop that from burning straight through? I don't even like. What? Not even like metal. You throw metal into the surface of the sun, it'll evaporate. What is on the outside of this thing? I want to know. Is it like? I feel like it's going to turn out that it's, the like plastic they use in Legos. Like that's what is actually able to resist the surface of the sun. Yeah, it says it says temperature much higher than the surface of the sun. Insane. China is aggressively pushing for the BEST reactor to be ready in record time. Sparks construction, that's the other reactor they have, began as early as 2021 and aims for operations to begin in 2027. So 2027, you may have fusion reactors that are actually outputting energy. And as they're able to scale those up. And the other thing, by the way, I should mention, which is very important, is these type of reactors don't have the nuclear radiation problem that fission reactors, which are the ones we currently have, it doesn't have nearly that issue of radiation waste, radioactive waste, and all the problems with fission nuclear power. So So yeah, that article is outlining that they will be outpacing the U.S. in fusion achievements. There was I listened to a podcast recently where they were saying that the U.S. is funding. We have a fusion project, but it's funded so low. The funding for it is so low that scientists say it's funded at the level where they'll literally never achieve full fusion energy. Like intentionally, it's funded at the level where you just can't ever get there. So I wonder if there's any motivation for them to do that. No? Okay, here's another one where if we use this technology as an advanced species, good. If we use it as savages, could be very bad. China continues to make advancements in weather modification. They have now used drones to spread a cup of cloud seed, meaning the measurement, a cup, like literally a cup of cloud seed in China that caused 30 swimming pools of rain to fall down. And I think they mean, I'm going to go on a limb here. I think they mean the amount of water of 30 swimming pools, not actual physical swimming pool, like not the base of not like above ground pools falling from the sky, because that would be like scary and bad. So I'm pretty sure they mean the amount of water of 30 swimming pools. Chinese government scientists have released results from a weather modification experiment. Although if they are doing that, can you drop one of those pools off to the side of my place and I could have a pool? You know, put a parachute on it so it doesn't like smash into a billion pieces. Okay? Thanks, China. Chinese government scientists have released results from a weather modification experiment in Xinjiang, where a fleet of cloud seeding drones boosted rainfall by over 4% across more than 3,000 square miles in a single day. They boosted rainfall by 4% in one day with 1 cup of cloud seed. Couple of questions that I think the people of Earth need to ask. Should we maybe put in some rules internationally of like we're not going to suck all the rain away from your country? Should we maybe talk about that? Should we maybe put in some rules about we won't send our drones over to your clouds to like break them up? or send your drones over to your clouds to cause floods? Like, yeah, there's some horrifying ramifications. But again, if we were an evolved species that actually used things for the betterment of humanity, then this could be a useful thing. Like you could increase the rain in a place that doesn't have much rain and decrease the rain where the place has been hit with floods recently, so that they're not getting more flooding. And if we're able to get to that level of control, and it would be a very positive thing for humanity. The problem, coming as someone who's in lives inside the U.S. empires, we don't often do things for the betterment of humanity. That's not our jam, man. So I always worry about how these things could be used. But I also am not. I generally am not one of the people saying, "Don't ever do fill in the technology. Don't ever do AI. End it." Because that never actually happens. There's almost no technological advancement where people are like, you just don't do it. And then everybody's like, okay, we won't. So instead, it seems to be usually the best path is let's actually deal with this like adults. But, we're not led by adults. We're led by idiot sociopaths. And we need to have a sociopath test at the doors of the Congress, at the doors of the White House, at the doors of every corporation. And if they fail the sociopath test, it's not like we're gonna like flick our peas at them. They just need to live somewhere else on an island somewhere. The operation of this cloud seeding produced more than 18.5 million gallons of additional precipitation, enough to fill 30 Olympic-sized swimming pools, each 6'5" deep. They, again, did not say whether they dropped the pools down or whether it's just the water, that amount of water in them. They said it's enough to fill the pools, but maybe, Are they dropping pools on people? Because I'm not cool with that. This amount of powder is 6 times denser than water and is small enough to fit in a travel mug. But most importantly, what kind of travel mug did they use when they dropped this? Chinese scientists explained the drone systems offer lower safety risks, rather than planes, superior maneuverability, precise controllability, and extensive coverage, enabling all-weather, year-round, 3-dimensional, and large-scale rain, snow enhancement operations. Similar weather modification practices have also been carried out in various regions of China. The U.S., by the way, has also, and I've done segments on it, also been, the U.S. uses cloud seeding at times. I think they're not real clear on like how often. So yet again, I think that's something that maybe we should be told, if we actually had transparency with our government. Our government told us all the shit they're doing, remember that? Anyway, these are some. That's like 2 days of China's technological advancements. The other reason you never hear this shit coming out of the United States, except occasionally the U.S. will come up with a new gun out of the Pentagon, but in general, you don't hear about these advancements in the United States, is because we're not built like that, right? We're built on how to make the most money, how to exploit people the most, how to steal the most, how to dominate the most. There's no like U.S. projects to create better lives via technology. Like there's no U.S. government. What if we created hydroponic farms in areas that are like have a lot of trouble getting produce there, and when they do get produce, it's like incredibly expensive because it's out in the middle of nowhere. What if we like? What the answers are fucking out there. Like the answers to our shitstorm. We could cloud seed so that it causes medium-sized shitstorms in a bunch of different areas rather than one big shitstorm. See? There you go. But I'm just saying the answers are out there. We're not the ones that actually benefit humanity. We largely aren't using. What is the U.S. inventing right now? The U.S. invents like, we got a new app that'll help you find a first date with a camel. For those who are into bestiality, we connect, the new app connects you with a dog in your neighborhood. Like we come up with new apps and shit because that's where the money is. They're not, we don't have large scale invention programs for things that just help people. No, absolutely not. We could have drones, like pocket-sized drones delivering food to every hungry person in America. Just dropping grapes from the sky, and the guy could just have his mouth open, Okay. Oh man. I'll do one extra one because I'm feeling naughty. It's about the collapse. One extra story. The collapse of DeSantis. I'll do one extra story if all of you right now click thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and click the bell icon. Then and only then, and I'm watching, will I do an extra story. Have you done it? Every one of you? Okay, good. Here it is. DeSantis apparently is in free fall. DeSantis, as you recall, was like the guy that they thought was going to beat Trump for the nomination, the guy they thought would be the next leader of MAGA, governor of Florida, the most insane state in the union. And he was set up for he was set up for a White House run. Every media outlet was talking about him, and now it seems like he's collapsing. The Republican governor faces potential political obscurity, unable to control legislators in his own party. Florida Republicans, the most insane species of all animals. Florida Republicans, which technically Donald Trump is, right? Because he moved there. He can't, they're turning against him. Do you know how screwed up you've got to be a Florida Republican and lose Florida Republicans? Anyway, faces potential political obscurity because his party is calling for a federal investigation of his wife's charity. By the way, anytime you hear a politician with a charity or a billionaire with a charity, it serves one of two purposes. Either it's a money laundering scheme or it's a brand laundering scheme. Those are the only two purposes. Okay? Money laundering or brand laundering. Sometimes there's the power laundering, like Bill Gates gets power by donating to things that he then controls because he donated, etc. But basically, money laundering and brand laundering. There's never in the history of humans been a charity by an active politician or a billionaire that was just designed to help people. Some of them kind of help people as a side effect of their brand laundering. But anyway, there's scandal surrounding Hope Florida, the state-backed charity of First Lady Casey DeSantis, who's been eyeing a bid to succeed her husband as governor. So he was hoping to, because he's term limited, so he was just hoping to dip out and put in his wife as governor, which is, it's always nice when family members just replace each other. Thank you, Pooh, for donating, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. The charity received $10 million in secret settlement money from a Medicaid provider just days before the charity sent that same amount to two political groups favored by the DeSantises. The DeSantises. House Republicans and independent observers allege that the arrangement amounted to an illegal siphoning of Medicaid funds. Oh, so he's one of those fraudsters we hear about. It's funny because Trump and Musk want to act like the, Medicaid frauds are like poor people or something. But no, it's the DeSantis couple. Polling suggests the scandal has hurt Casey DeSantis, who's been weighing a 2026 campaign to follow her husband as governor. And Hope Florida was supposed to be central to her political platform. Bet you she's not going to mention as much now. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer, up for re-election next year, also has been accused of wrongdoing by other Republicans. He was Ron DeSantis' chief of staff last year and ran an anti-marijuana political group. Anti-marijuana in Florida. Are you nuts? The only thing that stops Florida from just all of them shooting each other is marijuana. It's the only thing left. That may have benefited from an alleged Medicare switcheroo. Oh, so he's in on the scam too. It's it's funny. They're all trying to steal from Medicaid. But yeah, generally when you see something like this, because here's the thing, they're all corrupt. Like, one of two things happened in order for the Republicans to turn against DeSantis, their so-called leader. One of two things happened. Either he just, like the backroom deals, he cheated them. They didn't like him anymore. The backroom deals went awry, and all of a sudden they were like, well, how do we bring down DeSantis because we don't like him anymore? And they found this was the easiest way to do it. So that's one. The other possibility is that the fraud got so egregious and was so public that the other Republicans realized we kind of got to ditch, like, it's like plugging the hole in the boat. It's like we kind of got to ditch the faulty person here. We got to ditch the one who's actually bringing our party down. But that only happens when the corruption gets so egregious and in your face that, like, the newspaper's running with it every day. And eventually they're like, I think we gotta. It's kind of like Biden and the dementia. It's like he was demented for years. I mean, he was losing it for a long time. But it didn't become a thing that it actually mattered, that it actually was going to stop the Democrats from pushing him forward as the candidate until the media started covering it so much that eventually they was like, okay, this is like too much. Like, it's looking bad. Because they don't actually care in terms of, not having a demented president. I mean, we've got another demented president, just demented in a different way. Thank you, Teresa, for supporting the show. Thanks, Teresa. Thank you so much for supporting the show, everybody. Really appreciate it. And I will be back, let's see, Wednesday. I'll be doing another live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. It seems I'm settling into the schedule of Wednesdays at 3 p.m. I will be doing a live stream. It's just that every other of those live streams is government secrets, or it might be 2 p.m., but around that time. So that means the live streams in general are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually 3 p.m. Eastern. And the other thing is Unredacted Tonight comes out Thursday. Did everyone catch the one about the petrodollar? Because that was this past week, and I think you should check it out. Also, if you didn't already see it, I saw it. If you didn't already see it, I got it right the first time. If you didn't already saw it, I put out the segment of me tearing apart Joe Rogan's Israel-Gaza debate with Douglas Murray and Dave Smith. I rip Douglas Murray a new one. So I think you guys would enjoy that. That's at my YouTube page, which you can find at leecamp.com/unredacted. That will take you straight to the playlist. Come hang out with us on the Discord, tinyurl.com/unredacted Discord. And all of my other stuff is at linktree.com/leecamp. Oh, yeah, Unredacted Night is also a podcast. You can listen to Unredacted Night. It's called Just Comedy. And it's all my comedy segments, but recently my comedy segments have been Unredacted Tonight. Okay, thanks so much, everyone. Keep fighting.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha ha.